Hello and welcome to Unprofessional Engineering. My name is James.
And you got Luke.
Luke, today we're joined with another very special guest here at Autodesk, the VP of Education Experiences. Is that correct?
That's right.
All right, and it's Mary Hope McQuiston. Did I get it right?
You got it.
But you typically go by MH.
That's right.
I kept writing emails and I'm like, I don't actually know her, so I can't bring myself to just type MH.
Absolutely fine. I am known as MH.
All right, well, moving forward, I'll be able to do so.
So before we get started and get into the real questions, we have a game that we're going to play, and it's called How Well Do You Know Your CEO? So what we're going to do is we're going to ask you a series of quotes, and they're either going to be from Andrew's Twitter feed, basically. So if you follow him on Twitter, you might be okay. Or it's going to be from some other famous professional, and it's going to be in groups. So this first one is Andrew or Neil deGrasse Tyson. Okay, you ready? Apollo in 1969, Shuttle in 1981, nothing in 2011. Our space program would look awesome to anyone living backwards through time. Andrew or Neil?
Boy, that's tough. It could go to either one of them, but I'm going to go with Neil.
Very good. Ding, ding, ding. You got that one correct. Next one. I think of space not as the final frontier, but as the next frontier.
I'm going to go with Neil.
Very good, very good. 2 for 2 so far. And the last one between Andrew and Neil deGrasse Tyson. I deleted my Facebook account 3 years ago. Wasn't hard at all.
Andrew.
Very good. Wow. So far, so good.
Oh, all right.
And I don't want to put any pressure on, but this is getting all compared to everyone else that we're interviewing, and we're going to have to report out on scores.
We're submitting it to Andrew.
Just so you know. Lisa's leading the way at the moment.
Uh-oh.
All right, next round. Andrew or Mr. Rogers? Are you ready?
I'm ready. Bring it on.
The future belongs to the young. It's uplifting to see them own it.
I'm going to go with Mr. Rogers.
Ooh, Andrew.
Oh, so close.
We live in a world which we need to share responsibility. It's easy to say, it's not my community, not my world, not my problem.
I'm going to go with Fred Rogers.
Correct.
Very good.
And the last one in this segment, I think it's very important, no matter what you may do professionally, to keep alive some of the healthy interests from your youth.
I'll go with Andrew.
Ooh, Mr. Rogers.
Rogers.
Really?
I know. I didn't know he was so inspirational.
Jeez. Well, I did see the movie recently.
Oh, did you? Was it good?
Awesome.
Huh.
Really inspirational.
You know they're filming one in Pittsburgh, my hometown, with Tom Hanks playing Mr. Rogers.
I did hear that.
Yeah.
That'll be really cool.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Okay, next up is Andrew or Bob Ross. You know the painter with the big hair?
Okay.
Okay. There's nothing there's nothing in the world that breeds success like success.
Oh. I'm going to go with Bob.
Very good. If only we could all respect how others choose to live their lives.
I'm going to go with Andrew.
Very good. And finally, between Bob Ross and Andrew, talent is a pursued interest. Anything you are willing to practice, you can do.
I'm going to go with Bob.
Very good.
Wow.
You're the home stretch. You're doing pretty good here.
Yeah.
One last section.
Okay.
Is it Andrew or our good friend Elon Musk?
Aren't they the same?
Basically.
I
That's
know.
the fun part. Can someone tell me when we're going to stop calling Twitter and Facebook tech companies?
Andrew.
Very good.
I feel like you must have said that one a lot. That's why you need solar panels on your roof. Electricity has to come from somewhere.
Oh, jeez. I'm going to go with Elon.
Ooh, Andrew.
Andrew.
We won't tell him you missed that.
Okay.
Last one. Growing a business is as much about the innovation, drive, and determination of the people behind it as the product they sell.
That is tough.
This is the toughest.
See, this is when it's like, boy, I
Ooh,
don't want
do,
him.
do,
I don't want
do,
Andrew to have
do,
said
do,
it and me
do.
not to say that.
Yeah. I'm going to say Andrew.
Oh, Elon.
Really?
I know.
Oh, come on, Andrew.
He probably said something similar.
Come
though.
on.
Okay, so let's get to the real questions we have for you. So, hypothetically speaking, if someone didn't know what a VP of Education Experience does at Autodesk, could you describe what that is and what you do here at Autodesk?
Okay, sure. So first of all, our mandate here in the education group at Autodesk is really to build the talent pipeline for our customers in every industry and in every geography that we serve. So really making sure that we inspire and empower that next generation to get the skills and the experience and the education they need ultimately to pursue those degrees. So my role as the VP is really to make sure that we have a clear vision for where we're going and how we're getting there, and then making sure I bring on the right people and that they have the resources that they need to actually go and execute on that. So.
Okay.
So some people might not know this, and I'll admit I didn't know it for quite a while, but Instructables is actually part of Autodesk.
It is.
It is. Could you tell us how that fits into Autodesk's education strategy?
Yeah, sure. So one of the things that we're really focused on is trying to get more youth, so younger kids, actually interested in pursuing the degrees and the industries that we serve. And one of the things that we need to do in order to make that happen is to reach them in the classroom. And so thinking about kids sort of middle school age, so ages 8 to 14, and what these teachers need to bring making into the classroom is not necessarily just tools, right? And what they need is projects, and they need lesson plans. And if you look at Instructables, there's over 250,000.
There's a ton of them.
Yeah, there are, and on a whole range of topics that are super interesting and compelling, and that actually, even before we brought them into the education group, we had a large number of teachers and students that actually go to Instructables to actually find inspiration. Where do I find those projects that I can then bring into my classroom and get my students interested and engaged? And so a lot of what we're doing is really looking at how can we repackage that content in a way that those teachers can discover it and integrate it into their class, whatever class that is, whether it's a science class or a math class or a history class. And so Instructables is the platform for that content. It's also a great way to connect teachers to teachers, right? Where they can share what's working and what's not working and get support from one another. So those are some of the ways that we're looking at integrating and using Instructables to support our mandate here in the education group.
So you had mentioned that it's not just about our software tools, but something that we also do, and we've been doing it a while now, is students basically get anything and everything we have, correct? And I don't know exactly when that happens. So free, if you're a student, you get pretty much any piece of our software, full usage rights. How have you seen that change in that access that these students have to these professional tools, and even some of just basically all the tools? How's that changed that education community?
Yeah, well, so we made the decision to go to free a couple years back, about 4 or 5 years ago, and really it was for 3 reasons. First, it was we want to remove as many barriers as possible to access it. Ultimately, if we believe that more diverse populations will create better and stronger brands, we need to make sure as many people are participating. And so we didn't want cost to be a hurdle, and in fact, in many communities it was, right, when we were charging for our software. The second thing that's super interesting is that these kids, these students, they're fearless. And they're actually not beholden to some of the same constraints or concerns or fears that our commercial customers are. So they're an incredibly strong, passionate cohort for us to give our new stuff to and see what they can do with it. And it's been incredible. So that helps us from a product perspective to get feedback into the product team. And recently we've been focused a lot on the manufacturing space and particularly with Fusion, and they love Fusion, and just seeing what they've been able to do is super incredible. And they can bring that then to the commercial customers, right? And they can then become change agents and help our customers as they look to figure out how to incorporate new processes and technologies. So, but in the education community, and we've built up tremendous goodwill. I will tell you, I've been all over the world and visiting with not just students but faculty and educational institutions, and from the elite 4-year institutions to 2-year technical schools to high school, and every single time without fail, unsolicited, they thank me for Autodesk's commitment to making our software available for free.
Yeah, and I've seen some of the things that our students are making in some of the Fusion galleries, and you're right. I don't know if just as we get into our careers and we're kind of used to those constraints that I have to make this a certain way because that's the way we've always done it. When you see what these students are making, I mean, it's really inspiring, the things that they're making.
Yeah, and they are thinking beyond the traditional silos that we think about, right? And they're not just thinking vertically, oh, I just focus on mechanical, right? They're really looking beyond and bringing in the electrical and the sort of the all aspects. And we had last night here at Autodesk University a Pitch the Pros where we had 6 students. I don't know if you guys were able to go.
I didn't get to see it, but I heard it was pretty good.
Really crazy, inspirational work. And again, it's the creativity and the resilience they show. So really great.
I was getting told about that and how they'd have, 60 seconds to pitch to, and they were pitching to big people too, big companies and VPs of Autodesk, and amazing. And I was like, boy, I would have been terrible back then. I would have been so nervous.
But that's a great for them too.
Oh, great.
And this is something that we're looking at doing in the education group, is getting beyond just the tool set, but allowing these students to demonstrate they have the skill set and even the mindset. And that gets to, can you clearly communicate your idea? Can you present in front of a stage? Can you influence folks? So
then they end up on Shark Tank.
Yeah, exactly.
So along the same lines, and Luke and I have both been very active in the design and manufacturing online communities. And so you'll see Twitter where we'll just have high school teachers posting about what their students are doing. Even middle school teachers are doing the same thing. What are some of the efforts that Autodesk is making, not just to get into colleges and even high schools, but to the younger students as well, because we keep seeing that more and more as well?
Yeah, and so, we talk about this a lot in our group, and one of our key initiatives, one of our priority goals is really ensuring that more youth get involved and stay involved in making, because they oftentimes fall off, right? So even if they show an early interest or proclivity to being in the manufacturing or construction phase, they tend to they get sidetracked, and they either say, you know what, actually, I don't want to go into those industries. Those industries are dirty, dumb, and dangerous. I'm going to go into finance. I'm going to go make the money, right? I'm going to go do something that I know, or I'm going to go into IT, because that's what is dominating the press.
Right.
So one of the things that we need to do as Autodesk, and we're trying to do, is make the fields of the industries that we serve both appealing and accessible to these kids, and go, hey, actually, construction, manufacturing are super cool. There's lots of innovation. There's lots of growth. You can make a good income there and pull them in that way. So we do that through storytelling. The other thing that we do, is I mentioned this a little bit before, is we're really looking at how do we make these teachers successful, and specifically down, again, in the US, looking at sort of 5th grade, and getting them right at that time, and making it easy for these teachers to incorporate. And I'll tell you, one of the things that we hear all the time, and you're noting it in the Twitter feeds that you see, it's not the students. It's the teachers that they feel like they have to be the experts, and they sometimes get intimidated or overwhelmed by all the technologies out there, not being able to stay in pace. But the students are able to adopt it on their own, and so it's how do we support the teachers with that reality?
It's always one of those good feelings when the student starts getting better than you at Inventor or Fusion, and you're like, oh, I knew it could do that.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
So we were just chatting with Lisa, and we asked her about her passion projects, and she had mentioned young girls and women in engineering, and Autodesk seems to have, as a company, a real passion for that too. Could you talk about some of the things that we're doing specifically for getting young girls interested in engineering?
Yeah, so we work with a number of organizations like the First Robotics and the VEX and World Skills, and I will tell you, I've seen an incredible uptick in interest, and we see a number of all-girls teams that are competing, and there's lots of energy and enthusiasm. So I think those types of organizations are super helpful for getting girls and providing the support that they need. We also, though, and I think it also gets back to this storytelling and showing them. I think it's really important as a company that we show them that they can actually be a woman and be in these fields. And so I think we need to be really thoughtful about what images and stories that we surface there, and that's certainly something Lisa and I have talked about and shared from.
I can't wait till my daughter's in First Robotics and she can start crushing people.
You're going to be that dad.
Oh, I will.
That's
definitely.
wonderful.
I will definitely be that dad.
Unfortunately for us, Luke, we're going to be continuing to do these. I love doing the interviews, but we're actually missing what I'm told is the first all-women's team in the design slam
tonight is in yes, all women's design.
Isn't
The
that
design
cool?
slam
Yeah.
will be going up first time.
But isn't that a cool thing to be able to show younger girls in school that, look, these girls just crushed these experts?
Exactly.
Maybe. We'll see.
Exactly. Yeah. And when I was in China last month and went to a prestigious high school there in Shanghai, and it was a 12th grade girl who is the president of the VEX Robotics Club there, who gave me the tour in perfect English. And none of the faculty, by the way, spoke English. She was fluent, and she told us all about the school and her learnings and her experience with robotics. And as soon as we got back to the hotel that night, she'd already emailed us and said, thank you so much for visiting. I hope you enjoyed the tour. What could I have done more to improve my tour? So I'm really hopeful that these are avenues to get these girls engaged and keep them on.
That's
awesome.
Impressive. Okay, so on a little bit of a lighter note, so what so far, speaking of Autodesk University 2018, has been your favorite thing? And then the second question would be, what are you looking forward to most?
Okay, so it's not very objective, but my favorite thing...
Are you going there?
I am. Was yesterday morning that we have 28 students here, and each of them was given 60 seconds to tell a little bit about themselves and some of the projects that they're working on in addition to what they're studying.
Okay.
That's by far my favorite. I mean, I get so energized in that session, just hearing what they're doing and just how much they've been able to master without even entering the workforce. So that's certainly my favorite. What I'm looking forward to, the design slam. I'm so excited to see how these students compete against the professionals out there.
That'll be interesting.
Yeah.
All right, so when we're sitting here next year talking about this, what do you think are going to be some of the bigger changes that you see, both in the education space as well as just with Autodesk in general?
Well, I think one of the things that we'll see evolving over the year that's related specifically to education is certification. So actually that's something that lives in our world as well. And what we're really doing is to push certification beyond just the product, because ultimately as we look at how do we ensure that people have long and prosperous careers when in the time of automation, we need to make sure that they have not just the tools, which can constantly change, but the skills. And so we had over 900 people who registered for certification to take certification here physically on site. I think what we'll start to see is two things. I think it'll evolve from not just the product certification, but being certified for a particular role, machinist, for example, versus just AutoCAD or
Gotcha.
Fusion. And then the other thing I think we'll see is it'll move online. So people won't necessarily have to travel to Vegas to do their product certification, right? They'll be able to take advantage of all the other activities that are on site here, and they'll be able to do that remotely. So those are two things I think that hopefully we'll see evolve over the next year. As for Autodesk more broadly, I think we're going to start to see the realization of some of the stuff that we saw on stage today. I will say that I was really impressed by all of the presenters so far, and I thought today's presentation by Thomas from Claudius Peters was awesome, and just incredible to see how a 100-year-old company can disrupt itself and take advantage. So I'm really hopeful that we'll see a lot more examples of companies doing just that.
Okay,
my favorite part of that whole interview was when he had to explain to us how big meters were,
I
and
know.
then laughed about it.
And the unit of measure became a football field.
Right.
Yeah, that was great. I loved it.
So last question. So let's say we have some young students listening or watching online. What one piece of advice would you give to a student that's maybe thinking about engineering and science and the fields that we typically serve? What piece of advice would you give that student?
So two things. One, I would just start making something. Like just get in there, use your hands and start, and don't worry about failing, right? And the second is find a peer. One of the things that we find is really helpful for these students as they're looking is peer-to-peer support. So whether that's virtually on a social network or one of our communities or physically in their school or their community or their club, is find a peer to really be there to help support you,
Gotcha.
to give you the confidence and the skills. skills, and absolutely go for it. That's what I would really hope that they would
Awesome.
do.
That's what I keep you around for. Lee.
Thanks, Jason. Appreciate it.
All right, so on that note, I think we should wrap things up here. Thanks again, MH, for joining us at Autodesk University 2018, and we hope to hear back from you again next year.
Thank you.
Thanks for joining us.
All right.
Bye now.